How you doing? Dom Tiberi here, joined by Adam Kang, and it is official, ladies and gentlemen. The Buckeyes are going to the Cotton Bowl, and they will play Missouri on the 29th of December. It's weird. It's usually January and 29th of December down in Dallas. The Buckeyes had hoped to play in the college football playoff. It's not going to happen. Adam, my question is right now, you've got some big-time players on this team. Marvin Harrison Jr., who I believe is the best player in college football. They're saying either the first or second pick taken in the draft. You got Trey Henderson, who looks like he could be a first, second-round pick. You've got some other guys that are going to be, high draft picks. Why would they play in this game? Do you think they play in this game? I would imagine their representatives are telling Marvin, you cannot afford to go and get injured in this game. A lot of people are saying it's going to be, from at least an Ohio State standpoint, an exhibition of what the team will look like next year, that they just don't think some of these guys are going to play. And we've seen it in the past, and I can't really blame these guys because there's so much money on the line if they do decide to opt out.
Well, there's only one thing on the line if they play in this game, and it is completely all pride. It's just to say I didn't end my Buckeye career with a loss on the road to Michigan. It's the idea of being competitive and wanting to play, as they talk with the brotherhood. I mean, other than that, yeah, you're going to walk away with a nice Cotton Bowl ring, but for these guys, they've got a lot of other things in the future for them. I will say this. I think it's very unlikely we see Marvin Harrison Jr. in a Buckeye jersey again, but he seems like the kind of guy. He's always had that competitive spirit within him. He seems like the kind of guy that somebody's going to say, don't play in this game, rest up, get ready for the draft. And he might just say, no, I've got one more game in my time with the Buckeyes. I'll say this.
I'll be shocked.
I would not be shocked. I don't think he'll do it, but it would not surprise me. I think guys like Travion Henderson, you're talking about just getting more reps on camera for him.
But he's been hurt.
Yeah,
he's already been hurt, so why risk?
Well, maybe you get in that game, and maybe he has an explosive game, and that's
right.
Then he can present that in the draft. With Marvin, he's a top 2 pick, no doubt, in the NFL draft. He's not going to improve his draft stock by playing in the Cotton Bowl. For some guys, I mean, Emeka Egbuka, I'm a big believer Emeka should come back for one more season. Have that kind of, Jackson Smith-Njigba got his year. Marvin got his year. Come back and have your star year. Jackson got hurt, but, he was talked about as one of the best receivers in the country. I think Emeka could come back and solidify that top 10 pick. He's somebody, though, that if he doesn't want to come back, could earn some money. They're playing in the Cotton Bowl with Marvin not out there. I think it'll be really interesting. It all comes down to one thing, just being competitive and playing for the brotherhood that they say.
Well, it's going to be interesting, and, you would like to see them finish their career and finish with a win. But it's a whole different world. You got the NIL now. You got transfer portals.
And as you said, you can't blame them.
And I don't blame any kid that would say, no, I'm not going to risk it. The other big thing that came out of the news conference with Ryan Day, he was asked so many times about Kyle McCord, and he was really non-committal.
Yeah.
He was point blank asked, is Kyle McCord still your starter? Is he your starter next year? If you were thinking you were going to hear, yes, he is, we didn't hear that, did we? And it makes you wonder what the future is for Kyle McCord at Ohio State and how that's going to work out.
Well, I think these past, I don't know what it's been now, a week and more have been really tough for Ryan Day and for a lot of the Buckeyes, but really for Kyle McCord. I mean, he was the one that got a lot of the heat for that Michigan game, and rightfully so. He threw that interception that kind of started things off on the wrong foot, but the entire game didn't fall back on him. The question that I think Ryan Day was getting a lot today, and you're right, he never really gave that vote of confidence to Kyle. He never really said, yeah, he's our guy, yeah. He said he's a good quarterback. He made a lot of progress this year. But the thing that I kind of felt, and again, Ryan didn't say this, was that Kyle's a great quarterback, but he might not be the right quarterback to take Ohio State to that next level. And I think that's probably what most people around Buckeye Nation think right now, is that, he's a really solid quarterback. He's a guy that could go somewhere else in America and be a starter, no doubt, and help them have a great season. But he doesn't necessarily fit in the Buckeye offense where I think it's looking to go in the future.
And I don't know how that's going to go, but let me just say this. I like Kyle McCord. He's a great kid. I think he is the kind of guy you like having in a Buckeye uniform. I will defend him on one thing, and I have said this on social media. I think it is not. I think it's pretty bad, some of the stuff
Oh,
that
it's
I've
terrible.
seen
Yeah.
on social media directed at that kid. And I think it's ridiculous that some of the comments I've seen directed at Coach Day. I just think it's, I don't know. I just don't understand the visceralness. And, I look at it this way. No one wanted to win more than Ryan Day and Kyle McCord. And on that last interception, and I've gone round and round with people, and yes, you have the ability to slow it down. Yes, you have the ability to take a freeze frame. He got hit as he threw that last pass that got picked off. There was only 30-some seconds left in the game. He had to get rid of the ball. He could not take a sack.
It's true. The clock
Hindsight's
runs.
20/20. If he had a chance, he would have thrown it out of bounds. But he saw an open target, and the best player on the field, Marvin Harrison Jr., watch it again. He got hit. I'm sorry. They missed the block. The guy got tripped, and the bull rush was on, and he took it right in the chest as he threw it. The other thing I will say is you can't just blame Kyle. There's a lot of you can blame. The defense should never have given up a 7-minute drive.
Couldn't get off the field.
Couldn't get off the field. That game's over. There's nothing you can do about it. Nobody, but understand this, ladies and gentlemen, no one wants to win that game more than Ryan Day and the players. If you think you're upset, how do you think they feel? So that's just my little rant, because some of the things when people say, calling Kyle McCord names, I just don't go for that.
Well, I thought it was somebody asked Ryan Day about that today and said, how do you prepare a quarterback for that? He said, you try to build up their armor, but you can only do so much. Kyle McCord is a very good quarterback. He is better than the majority of quarterbacks in the country. He is a phenomenal guy. I mean, he's been great all season to talk with. He cares, as you said, more than really anybody else could out there. If you want to say that Kyle McCord is not the best quarterback in America, that is perfectly fine.
That's your opinion.
And it could very well be right. But the argument that I think can be had is, does Ohio State need to have a Heisman caliber quarterback next year if they want to win a national title? I think that's probably pretty accurate. I think most teams would take that. If you don't think Kyle McCord is that guy, that's understandable. This year, it didn't go the way. The second interception, I agree. He got hit on. The first interception felt like a misread, and he'll be the first to say he wants it back. The names and stuff, that's taken it too far. A lot of people said that he called it just a game. That was out there a lot. He did. He said in the press conference, "Oh, it's just a football game," but he didn't mean it like that when you listen in the full context. What he was trying to say is that it is just a game, so you can't let the Michigan game get bigger than it is when you're on the field. I had a chance to sit down with him before that game. That kid wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you look at that second half, remove that second interception, it's a pretty solid second half for Kyle McCord. But moving forward, which is what Ohio State is now doing, I understand the idea that Kyle McCord may not be the right answer for this team when they look to next year. And it would not surprise me if we see some split reps or even the majority of reps going to someone else in the Cotton Bowl.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. And let me just say this. As a guy that has covered this game for 42 years, it is just a game. There are other things in life than a football game. And let me say that by saying it's still a huge game. But the world does not stop if Ohio State loses to Michigan. There are many worse things that can happen. And I feel bad for Kyle McCord. It's big boy football, and it goes with the territory. And Ohio State, the standard has been set. Buckeye fans were really spoiled by what Urban Meyer and Jim Tressel were able to do. I mean, between them, they lost once, and it was a pretty impressive run. The rivalry is definitely back, and Ohio State needs to beat these guys. There's no question about it. That is the game that everyone at Ohio State points to. That's the game Ryan Day said that they would. And I think that's the hardest thing for Ryan Day right now, is he poured everything into this game all year long, and it wasn't like they got blown out, ladies and gentlemen. They had a chance at the end. I'm sitting there thinking it's going to be a Notre Dame moment. It's going to happen again, and it didn't. There was not the fairy tale ending we were hoping for.
Well, and looking forward, I think for the rest of time, at least until they change this format again, that game is not going to carry the added weight of deciding the national championship. It could decide playoff byes and it could decide this and that. But the idea that next year when Ohio State takes the field in the shoe against Michigan, they will likely, there were 10 playoffs? Ohio State, if they were all 12 teams, would have made every single one of them.
What needs to happen, though, as you said, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to get this off my chest, too.
All right.
They need to do away with the conference championship. To me, it's ludicrous. If it was this year, they do away with the East and the West and all that nonsense. If it was this year, Ohio State would have just lost to Michigan, and then they would have turned around and played again in Indianapolis back-to-back weeks.
It's true.
That's nonsense. They need to just do away. The conference championship does nothing now in the 12-team playoff deal. They need to it's just a moneymaker for the Big Ten. It needs to go away.
Which is interesting because it was so important for the 14 playoffs. Well, look, if you remove the conference championships this time around,
well, let me ask you.
You would have Georgia. Probably people would have put, and they probably would have put Washington in. You'd have, who was 3? Florida State.
How important is conference championship? They're undefeated and we're the champions of their conference. Where are they?
Listen, I said
so don't tell me that the conference champions matter.
I said that Florida State should be in.
Do they matter?
Adamant that Florida State should be in because I think that if you win all your games, that's all you can do. But we're not here to talk about Florida State.
They took conference champions, but they didn't take the undefeated team. So let's.
That's why they're going to 12 games. That's the beautiful part about this. And getting back to the
That's
Missouri.
why they need to do away with the conference championship. Ohio State doesn't need to play Michigan back-to-back weeks.
It'd be interesting.
Oh, it'd be interesting, but what good is it?
I will say this. There's a part of me that thinks that next year Ohio State could walk off the field. Ryan Day could beat Michigan, celebrating at Ohio Stadium. And do you know the first thing he's got to do?
Play him again.
Get ready to go play him again 7 days. That would be.
I think that's silly.
That would be something. Well, what the Buckeyes do have to do is get ready to go play in Dallas on December 29th. This is a good Mizzou team. They've got a good quarterback. They got a former Buckeye in Mookie Cooper who plays really well for them.
Beautiful.
I think the biggest thing, it's an SEC team. And I think anytime you get a shot at what many think is the best conference, good enough that they were allowed to jump an undefeated team, that's big. And I think that's the rallying point for Ryan Day is here's another chance to show that you did deserve to be in that playoff, even though you lost by 6 points and there just wasn't enough teams enough room for all the teams that deserve to be in. I don't think by December 20th, I don't think that Buckeye Nation will have a hard time getting excited for this game. I don't think they're going to get excited like they did for the Peach Bowl, or it might not have the beauty of the Rose Bowl with Utah, but it is an SEC game. And quite frankly, I think this is always what comes around bowl season. It's your last chance to see the Buckeye football team play for 8 months.
Have you ever thought about selling used cars?
Well,
right here, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Enjoy Missouri versus Ohio State. Not great.
He's Adam King. I'm Dom Tiberi, and we will keep you up to date on the Buckeyes and Missouri. Keep it on 10TV and 10TV.com for all your Buckeye football needs.